Hello y'all. This is a video about tick bites and care for tick bites, kind of all things tick bites. I'm going to talk about some preparations that are really great for tick bites. I'm going to talk a little bit about prevention, and I'm going to talk about care, like first aid care for tick bites. So first I'll talk about prevention. There are some suggested ways to deter ticks. Tucking your socks into your pants keeps your ticks on the outside of your clothes so that they can't as easily get onto your skin. What that means is that they'll continue crawling up until they get to your skin, and then they'll bite somewhere between your neck and your head. That the socks and the pants thing, I don't use that method to deter ticks. It's a fine method for people to use. I don't know that it actually deters ticks. I think what it does is that it makes it so that you can do a visual scan of the front of your body, of your clothes, and take them off. And then it also, really like confines your tick check focus to your neck and your head, though I would check the whole body anyways. During tick season, I actually check twice a day because I'm surprised at the number of days when I've woken up and checked for ticks and there's ticks there, and it's like, okay, I don't know how that happened, but it just is worth it to check twice a day during tick season for me and my family. For women, not shaving your legs is a great way to stay aware of your body and what's on your body. The hairs in our body are designed to send information to our nervous system. So when a hair follicle is moved, it alerts your nervous system that there's something on your body. And so if you don't have hair on your body, then you don't know if something's crawling up your legs. So that I use that method, and I'm kind of amazed at how if with using that method and practicing being tuned into my body, I'm able to catch so many ticks before they bite. Using apple cider vinegar spray on the legs, on the clothes, can be a deterrent. Apple cider vinegar with some essential oils is also a deterrent. I don't do a lot of that because it hasn't felt like it was worth it in the past. Mostly I'm just checking and then treating bites as they come. Another deterrent that folks are talking about is Cystis and Canis, which is rock rose. It's a tea. It's a tea preparation. There's only one study that I know of that was about dogs, and the study showed that dogs that consumed Cystis and Canis daily had 1/100th as many bites as dogs who didn't. So that's a pretty good number. From one study, I realized that that's not necessarily like something to base activity around. And at the same time, I feel good enough about using Cystis and Canis on a regular basis if you know you're going to be in the woods, to deter ticks during high tick times. We don't know about what the prolonged use of Cystis and Canis is, so like using it every day for 6 months, maybe not. That being said, another really great protective daily is to use adaptogens. I talk about adaptogens in almost every video that I make. Stephen Herod-Buhner, who has done a lot of documented research on Lyme and Lyme protocols and herbs, he recommends using astragalus when you're not experiencing an acute infection. So when you are experiencing an acute infection, you don't want to use astragalus. You can use other adaptogens, but the research by Stephen Herbal is to use astragalus, especially for Lyme and co-infections. Just a social justice word about Stephen Herbal. There is controversy about him as a herbal leader. I am not happy with the way that he has talked about how BIPOC and queer folks are existing and asking to be seen in herbal spaces, in conferences, and I feel that his language around honoring queer and BIPOC folks as part of the herb community and as people that are deserving of having sanctuary spaces. I'm disappointed in the way that he's communicating about it. I don't feel like because he is insensitive and I don't even know what to say. I don't feel like we should throw him out completely as an herb teacher. I'm okay with holding the duality of like, yeah, this guy, this old white man, like represents a lot of things that I think I'd like to see change in the herb community, and also he's done amazing epidemiological research on herbal medicine, and getting a lot of stuff published. And so I value his research. I value his contributions to the herb community, and I also have questions about how he shows up as a leader in the community. And so anyway, I don't care if people don't like him and want to burn his books, which has happened. I don't care if people like him. I just don't want people to have this person cause divisions in the herb community, because it's not, this guy isn't worth it. Okay, that was a little bit of a off topic, but feels important to just throw in there. Adaptogens. So other adaptogens that I like to use for Lyme are reishi. Reishi tincture is a great way to get reishi into the body during this time of the year. I like to use adaptogens daily. Some of my daily adaptogens are mushrooms, reishi, chaga, birch polypore, maitake. Those are kind of my most commonly used adaptogenic mushrooms. I use those. I have those 3 in my daily tincture blend, which is a combo of adaptogens, nervines, liver tonics, and heart medicine. And then Tulsi, which is holy basil, Ayurvedic plant, Schisandra, which is an Asian medicine that folks are experimenting with growing in the U.S., including in northern climates like here. Yeah, so those are the adaptogens that I like to use. So I like to use adaptogens during the summer. I use adaptogens year round, but it's particularly helpful to use astragalus during the summer when you're going to be exposed to tick bites. You can use an astragalus tea. You could do a tincture. You could chew on astragalus slices. It's a fairly palatable herb, so it's like something that actually makes a really delicious sweet tea that kids will enjoy if they enjoy tea. All right, let's get into talking about tick bites and care for tick bites, first aid care. So the first thing that I do when I know that I have a tick bite is I use a tick twister, which is this fancy plastic tool. It's not that fancy, but it's a plastic tool that you use to twist the ticks out. So ticks, to get in your body, they twist their bodies in. And so if you just pull a tick out just straight out, often you'll leave the head in. I'm talking about deer ticks. Wood ticks, if you pull them out, you usually pull some of your flesh, but with the tick, but the head stays stays intact with the body. So I pull out the tick with a tick twister. I think I do it clockwise, which I don't really know if it makes a difference. Like, you know how like water on one half of the equator circles in one way, and on the other side of the equator it like turns, like if you're like in the toilet flushing or something like that, it'll go the other direction if you're making a water volcano. So anyway, I'm curious if anybody lives on the other side of the equator and there's ticks, if they know if they spiral in the opposite direction than they do in the north. I pull them out clockwise, or do I pull them out? I think I pull them out counterclockwise now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know if it actually matters. Twisting them out seems to work without getting their head stuck in. So basically you just twist and twist and twist and twist and twist until their body comes out. And so I don't know if you can see, there's a little lever it's shaped like a lever, and there's a slat, and there's a small size for deer ticks and a big size for wood ticks or dog ticks. And so you put their head, you slide it around their head, and then you twist, and then you pull it out. So after I do that, I'll immediately sterilize it with my antiseptic oil, which is an antiseptic oil made with tea tree, lavender, and oregano essential oils, and there's olive oil in there. I don't like undiluted essential oils. I think that they're too strong for my body, and I think that they're too strong for a lot of people's bodies. So I dilute it a little bit to just make it a little bit easier on the skin. And generally, I don't use essential oils very often, but because of how dangerous these spirochetes are, I want to hit them hard, and so I use essential oils. So I'll cleanse it with a couple drops of this, and then I'll cleanse it with my antiseptic tincture, liniment. Liniment is a tincture that you put on the skin. And in here is propolis, balanthes, echinacea, teasel, and monarda in alcohol. These are anti-inflammatory herbs. These are alterative herbs, that means cleaning the blood. These are antibacterial herbs. Spirochetes are bacterial. Teasel is a Lyme-specific herb. And propolis is a very, very potent antimicrobial that comes from hives. So the bees use propolis to seal the hives from invaders. So I'll clean the wound with this, and then I'll put on some of my tick paste. The tick paste is a combination of herbs and honey and propolis and beeswax and tinctures. It's monarda, echinacea, plantain, honey, beeswax, and then the same tinctures that are in the antiseptic blend. So I'll put I will put the tick paste on the bite, and then put a bandage on it, and I'll add some of the alcohol tincture if it's not moist enough. And then I'll change that 3 or 4 times a day depending on how the bite looks. So some bites look really bad. Some bites look less bad. For a bite, and what that means is that when you pull the tick out, sometimes there's a little bit of redness around the tick bite. And that's not the bullseye. I'm not talking about the bullseye. I'm talking about the body's immune response showing, which is inflammation, showing that there's an infection present. Now, There have been many, many tick bites where it's a little bit of red around where it's pulled out. And we do this protocol, and we use ledum internally, and we use some other herbs internally, and I'll talk about those in a minute. And I do this for several days, changing the bandages with the tick paste, cleansing with the essential oils, and using the antiseptic tincture. And we don't get an infection. And so what's happening is that the infection, while present, is staying localized, and the plantain, and then I also use prunella, are keeping the infection from going deep. So plantain and prunella draw infections out, they draw out foreign bodies, and so these two plants are keeping the infection from going into the body, into the bloodstream. And in the meantime, the echinacea is cleaning the blood. The monarda is cooling and also sterilizing, and the spilanthes is attacking the spirochetes. The propolis is cleaning the blood and attacking the spirochetes. So this topical practice I've been using it for my family, and from this topical practice we haven't had infections. Now sometimes a kid gets a tick bite and I don't see it. Sometimes it's attached too long. Sometimes we don't see the tick. Like the new baby ticks are so teeny tiny that sometimes you don't even see them. And so I also, like I said, I use ledum homeopathic. Can you see it? Not really. I use the ledum homeopathic. Gosh, this is, well, whatever, you get the idea. I use the ledum homeopathic, which are these homeopathic tablets. This is what I send in the tick kit. The ledum homeopathic is for puncture wounds, and a spider bite, a tick bite, these are puncture wounds. So using the ledum homeopathic to treat it as a puncture wound addresses what's going in the body with a puncture wound. And I have a lot of people who I know who use the ledum homeopathic, some people who exclusively use the ledum homeopathic with great results. So the other thing that I do, depending on the severity of the tick bite, if I just pull the tick out, if it's a deer tick, I'm going to use the tick paste and the antiseptic tincture and the essential oil blend. I'm going to use those regardless of what the bite looks like. And I'm going to use those for like 3 days while I'm monitoring for other symptoms. And then I will use the ledum homeopathic as well. If there is some of that redness around the bite, if there's inflammation present, if it's symptomatic of an infection, I will use those. I'll use that protocol for at least 3 days, sometimes for longer, and then I'll use an internal protocol. And the internal protocol is somewhat body specific. It kind of depends on the age and the person and their immune system. For kids, I do use echinacea, which I don't often use internally, but I think that this is a great time to use echinacea. I'll use some echinacea. Spilanthes is a great one to use internally. I'll use the teasel, I'll use reishi, I'll use monarda, propolis. So basically that antiseptic tincture that I was talking about, I'll use internally. Also using Japanese knotweed internally is a great Lyme-specific herb. And then if it's an adult, I might use some heavier hitters that are anti-parasite, including sweet annie, tansy potentially. Tansy's incredibly toxic, but the incredibly toxic tansy might be better than chronic debilitating Lyme. let's see what else. Wormwood is another anti-parasite. Ashwagandha is another adaptogen that I might use. And then, oh, what's it called? Andrographis is another really great Lyme herb. So using any of these internally. Oh, also stevia helps to break up the cysts that the spirochetes often will form to protect themselves when they go into remission. So one of the things that often happens with Lyme, including when people take antibiotics, is that the spirochetes will go into remission. So they'll burrow into the body. Spirochetes are a spiral. And so what happens when they go into remission is they flatten and they basically hibernate in the body. And then when the body is under stress, when the immune system is down, when there's something going on in the body that makes the body weak, then they'll come out and you'll become symptomatic again. So breaking up the cyst with the stevia is also an herb to use. My recommendation is that if you're using herbs for Lyme or for a tick bite, that's less than where when the bite happened and you've been taking things since it started, then I think it's okay to use these preparations internally and externally. If the symptoms continue and persist past 5 days, if the symptoms get worse, if you start to get systemic symptoms as opposed to local symptoms, that's when you need to start working with a practitioner. So my recommendation is that if you're treating something that looks like it's infected, but you don't know that you have a systemic tick-borne illness, I have treated many tick bites this way with very good results. The one time somebody in my family got a tick-borne illness was when the bite wasn't treated this way. And when that happened, we used a combination of antibiotics and herbs. And I am not going to include that in this video because of censorship. If you have a chronic Lyme, or if you have systemic acute Lyme or chronic Lyme, my suggestion is to work with a practitioner who has experience in working with Lyme and other co-infections, and to work with a practitioner, a holistic practitioner, in conjunction with a Western medicine practitioner. I have no qualms about somebody working with only a holistic practitioner. I do have qualms about somebody working with only a Western medical practitioner, but my biggest thing is if you know that this is right for your body, then do what's right for your body. If you get a tick bite and you're super worried about it and you need to go to the doctor, then that's what you need to do. Because ultimately, placebo is a much better healing action than anything else. These herbs aren't healing your body. Your body is healing your body. So you do what you feel confident in. When I had Lyme, I didn't know what to do, and I went to a Western practitioner and I was able to kick it with antibiotics, and I don't regret that. But since then, I have been totally confident in dealing with tick bites without Western medicine support that haven't turned into infections, and that has been fine. If I did have an infection, I would work with probably a Western medicine practitioner, as well as myself and possibly another herbal practitioner. I'm not diagnosing Lyme. I'm not telling people what to do for their bodies. I'm saying what I have done for my body that's worked for me and my family, and I'm sharing information. This is about education. This is not about diagnosis or giving people idea or telling people what they should do for healing. This is about treating bodies and addressing underlying conditions of symptoms. And the only way to work with chronic or acute systemic Lyme safely is to do so with practitioners. If you have questions or comments, feel free to drop them here or to message me at dancingminarda@gmail.com. I'm happy to support people with acute Lyme, acute tick bites, like, oh my God, Minarda, we got tick bite, I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do step by step. Yes, I'm totally happy to do that. And if you need support with chronic Lyme, I am not authorized to do that, but I can help with acute Lyme. I can help with tick bites, and if you're interested in any of the herbs or products that I talked about, please reach out. Stay safe in the woods, and if you're a woman, don't shave your legs.